Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome to the Last Round Podcast bonus show. Today we have podcast royalty, the one half of the award-winning Fight Disciples, Adam Catterall. Thanks for joining me, Adam.
No, thanks for having me on, mate. Listen, we've obviously spent a bit of time in each other's company whilst I've been out in the States covering fights. I know that you dip into Vegas every now and again from your mansion in Los Angeles, mate. So it's I know it's a bit of a weird one doing something over Zoom because we're normally face-to-face, but no, thanks for inviting us on.
I didn't really know how to introduce you because I know that Nick P, I don't know whether it was a moniker he gave himself, the talent. So what's yours? Are you just the brains behind the project?
Mate,
or?
I'll take the brains, right? He's labelled me the upload guy. That's all I do. I just stick it on the internet and he's the talent. He's the juice behind it. But, you know, I'll take whatever, man. If you want to class me as the brains of the operation and he's the looks, that's cool.
So one bonus about having your own podcast, obviously, is, you know, you can pick and choose the guests. So I thought it'd be quite good just to kind of, you know, go over your career because obviously you've kind of started at, you know, local radio, worked all the way up to probably, I know, the pinnacle of the sport, you know, being on TV for BT Sports. So if you could just kind of give us, you know, where you started and how you got into the business.
Well, wow, man, this is a look back, innit? I hope your audience aren't going to get bored now with me doing a chunk from the Goonies to go and through the whole life story. No, I remember distinctly, and I'm sure there's loads of people that are listening to this that have had their own dreams and aspirations of careers that they want to fulfill. And I remember being about 14, 15 years of age, being driven to school by my mum and what have you. And at the time in the 90s, Chris Evans was the Radio 1 breakfast DJ, but he only did it for 9 months. I know you'll know that, Mike. But he only did it for 9 months. But that 9 months felt like it was generational, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people who grew up around our time will remember Chris Evans' Radio 1 breakfast show. And obviously at the time he was doing Tier 5 Friday of the night, wasn't he? And it was just mega, absolutely mega to watch this guy from the northwest of England become this media mogul, but do it in a way which was pretty cool. And obviously that's from a music entertainment point of view. So I remember at 14, 15 years of age going, right, I want to do what that guy's doing. He's having a ball, man. He's hanging out with Gaza, the footballer. He's in the pub throughout the course of the day. But at the night time, he hangs out with all these guys, interviews them and comes up with this stellar content. So I made a bit of a beeline to start to learn that process. How do you do it? How do you become a radio presenter? And I went in to my local hospital and I started doing hospital radio, playing like the Neil Diamond tracks to grannies that were obviously poorly and what have you. But I knew instantly, the minute I sat down, even though the music wasn't my music and I was talking to an audience that wasn't necessarily my audience, I knew immediately this is it. This is what I have to do with the rest of my life. I love it. Can't get enough of it. There's something about being live on air and something about just broadcasting and speaking and trying to paint a picture for somebody that can't see you, but paint a picture to create just some escapism for them. And I loved it. So, and then obviously being only 15 years of age, you do your GCSEs, you go into college and all this type of stuff, but it was always right. I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. And I started getting into club DJing and doing people's parties and all that type of carry on. And then, sorry for the long-winded way of how I got to covering fight sports, but we'll get there eventually. And so I started doing like DJing in nightclubs and what have you. And I got to a decent level of doing that. So I was resident at Gatecrasher when I was about 20, 21 years of age, DJing trance and house and garage and R&B and all this type of stuff, filling dance floors. It was the same effect of being on the radio because you were seeing an instant reaction, a face-to-face reaction of people responding to what you were doing, what you were saying, what you were playing. And I got a kick out of that. But in the back of my head, I always wanted to be a radio presenter. And I'm sure there's people that have had those aspirations that have made tapes in the bedroom, sent it off to the local radio station, heard nothing back. I'm no different, mate, right? From the age of 15 years of age, I used to send them off all the time. Got absolutely nothing back whatsoever. until a mate of mine randomly rang me and he said, our local radio station were looking for street team members. And basically what that was is just guys handing out flyers for the radio station to say, hey, man, we're doing a club night here or a club night there and what have you. Come along to it. It wasn't a gig on air or anything, but I thought, something? I need a foot in the door. I'm getting nowhere. Sack it. I'm going to apply for it. I'm going to go and be the skivvy on the street and see if I can, once I'm in the door, then maybe try and work my way around the building to go, right, listen, man, I reckon I can be a radio presenter. Let's do it. And that's kind of what happened. So I got that position when I was about 22, 23 years of age. And the whole, even though I worked hard at doing what was my actual job, the whole process for me was building relationships. And that's what this game is. It's all about building relationships. I obviously targeted, right, he's the boss. I need at some point to be able to have conversations with that person to get their ear a little bit and maybe get their advice. I will become a radio presenter. And I did that over a year. It took about a year before the boss of that radio station, and he's sadly no longer with us, is Brian Page, but he most certainly is a massive influence on my career. He's a guy that listened to my dreams and aspirations as a young guy, sent me away many times to make demos for him. And literally every time I thought I cracked it, I'll put the demo on his desk and he'd be like, nah, do it again. He must have made me do it about 10 times or something before it ran into Christmas. And you know what it's like. Everybody wants time off at Christmas. Whenever you listen to a radio station, all the schedules are all over the place at Christmas because presenters don't want to be there. They want to be out with their families and all that type of stuff. So it gives opportunities for new, hungry, young up-and-comers to maybe get a bit of a crack. And Brian came to me over Christmas period, and he knew full well he was testing me because I was playing at Gatecrasher at the time. The biggest night of the year for any major nightclub brand is New Year's Eve. He came to me, he goes, are you DJing over Christmas? So I said, yeah, I'm doing this, and this, like Gatecrasher will put this on, I'm playing here, there, and everyone goes, all right. Do you fancy doing a radio show? I went, yeah, absolutely. He goes, New Year's Day, breakfast. And I went, are you taking the mick out of me or what, man? I was like, he knew full well I'd be in this, like the location geographically, the station that I was on was in Preston, but I was DJing in Sheffield, which is about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, whatever, drive back. And he knew that I'd be DJing till what, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. Breakfast starts at 6 in the morning on New Year's Day. So I'm thinking he's done this on purpose to see how badly I want this. And I just made that decision there and then. I thought, you know something, I might only get one crack. I might only get one shot at it. I'm just going to do it, man. And I played Gatecrasher. I negotiated with Gatecrasher that I could finish at 4 in the morning. Got in the car, drove back, did the breakfast show. Obviously, that show was probably the worst program I've ever done in my entire life, but the adrenaline carries you through it, doesn't it? You're absolutely pumped for it. And obviously, the Christmas period finishes, and then he phoned me up for a meeting off the back of the program. He goes, all right, man, you've got something. Let's ride. And then a lad went on holiday in the April of that year. I covered his program like an overnight program, 2 till 6 in the morning for 2 weeks. And this is I learned immediately how ruthless this game is. That guy never came back to do his radio show because they sacked him. They went, right, this is our guy now. And they cancelled they didn't renew his contract. They put me on. And I suppose the rest is history because I went through that schedule very, very quickly at my local station. So I did overnights for about 2-3 months. I went on to the evening show, 7 till 10 at night. And then I was the breakfast show presenter. And that's where it really kicked off for me because I did breakfast for about 3.5 years. And from that point onwards, even though it was music entertainment radio that I was doing, I started winning major awards like national awards, going up against people like Chris Moyles and all those types of characters and building a reputation for the type of radio that I was doing. And off the back of that, I then took another chance. I quit. I didn't renew a contract after about 3.5 years because I wanted to get to Radio 1, even though Radio 1 had never promised me anything. That took about 9 months. Up sticks, went to London, lived in London, just doing voiceovers and various bits and bats. Got to Radio 1, did a couple of years at Radio 1, and then we got the Olympics, man. The Olympics came in 2012, and it was like, they were looking for presenters to do stuff in-house and all this type of stuff. And I thought, what an opportunity to be around something that I love. Because I'd never thought at the time, and I don't know whether you've had this, because we just had a little bit of a conversation before we started this recording about it being a hobby. And I always thought that because I love sport so much and obviously fight sports in general, and I'd sit in the pub with my mates talking about it. You can't make a living out of that because it's supposed to be a job in it. You're supposed to not like going to work. And even though I liked doing music, entertainment, radio, it was a job. It wasn't my life. I wasn't living it. I still had to go and research stuff. I still had to, I don't know anything about that. So I'm going to have to spend some time doing some prep for that. Fight sports weren't like that because my downtime was always fight sports or football. So you'd always be watching it, wouldn't you? And you'd always be taking in that information. So therefore, if anybody wanted a conversation with you about it, it was there. It was natural. So I'd never thought that I could do that for a living because it wasn't real work. Anyway, 2012 came along and I was lucky enough. I blagged my way in to cover the boxing. And part of the caveat of covering the boxing, because everybody wanted to do it, was, right, if you do the boxing, you have to do the table tennis, you have to do the weightlifting, you have to do the judo and all these stuff, everything that was going on in the XL arena at the time. So I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I just blagged it. Got there at the XL knowing full well, right, I know all about my boxing, so I'm going to have to do a bit of research on table tennis. Listen, everybody in the world of table tennis is from Asia, right? You pronounce them Chinese names, then South Korean names, then I'm thinking, I've absolutely stitched myself up here. But I got through it, had a whale of a time. And then at the end of that period of doing the Olympics, and then I got asked to stay on to do the Paralympics as well. Did the Paralympics. And I went away on holiday straight after for my brother-in-law's wedding. Went out to the Dominican Republic. And while I was out there, I said to my wife, I said, I'm never going back to music radio because I've just fallen in love with this. This is what I want to do. And at the time, this is going to sound like a bit of a knobhead, but I had an agent at the time. And I phoned him from holiday and I went, do us a favour whilst I'm away. Just try and put the feelers out, see if there's anything going in sports radio or anything, and we'll discuss it when I get back. And literally, when I got back, Absolute Radio in London, which used to be Virgin Radio, wanted me to host like a football phone-in with Ian Wright, former Arsenal centre forward. And I thought, cracked it. This is where I'll start. And that's what it was. I started there. That then progressed into moving into TalkSport, where I am now. And when I got to TalkSport, I noticed that they weren't doing any boxing, any fight sports or anything like that. So it was knocking on the door constantly. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. But because I had no real reputation in the world of fight sports, all my reputation was in music, entertainment, radio, and it was like, oh, here we go, a bit of a chancer, a bit of a guy that knows fuck all about it. Those opportunities didn't come. So I then thought, well, sod it, man. I'm going to set something of my own thing up, and that's when Fight Disciple started. So obviously, I met Nick Pete. Do it randomly. He was a guest on one of my radio shows, and I thought, get on with this geezer, the guy that blags himself as the talent. Get on with him. We've got a good chemistry. We're coming from the same place, even though we have a little bit of a different view on various bits. And also, the main thing about that relationship as well, it wasn't just boxing. We were both big fans of MMA as well, so we could do something that wasn't being catered for, aimed really at the mainstream audience, the guys that aren't necessarily fight sports fans. We wanted to talk to football fans to say, come to this sport because it's fucking mega. Come and enjoy yourself with us, and we'll try and help you along the way understand bits of it. All right. We didn't want to talk to the hardcore. We wanted to talk to that mainstream audience. And we've been at it now for the best part of 4.5 years, I think it is now. And that, without any shadow of a doubt, Michael, I can say everything that you see me do now, the catalyst was Fight Disciples. No question about it. Setting up my own thing with Nick, that then made the mainstream media and the mainstream industry go, oh, hang on a minute. They do know what they're doing, right? Okay. And with all due respect to mainstream media, what they want is mainstream audience. That's where the money is, you know. The casual fight sports fan who is going to be spending their money on their pay-per-views, they want them, the football fans, to stay with boxing, to say, right, yeah, go on then, we'll give you some money for Dillian White, we'll give you some money for Anthony Joshua or whatever it may be. So that's where it all kicked off, mate. That's where it all kicked off, and that's where we are right now. Sorry for doing a full chunk on you, but we got.
I think doing the research for you for this interview today was probably the most fun that I've had because I just went into YouTube and I just typed in Adam Catterall just to see what videos popped up, and I don't know why you left Rock FM. There's videos of you doing a wrestling challenge, smashing up a CD for Kid Rock that a listener had won because you didn't want him to listen to it. Some girl called Gemma had a £600 a week scampi addiction. Yeah, you getting wax live on air. You doing Steve Irwin impressions. That seems like a job for life,
mate. Do you know something? I Loved it. And there's loads of people that obviously trying to, I don't know, they get to a certain level or they get to a place in their careers and they try to disregard all the things that have got them there. Mate, I used to be the voice of an animated fox on a bingo advert. You know, I've been the face of scratch cards for the National Lottery in the UK. Mate, I've done all those things. All those things have most certainly helped shape and mold where I'm at right now. And I kind of use all those things that I learned at Rock FM. I learned all those things. I brought them into the fight game, and maybe that's why it's working, because a lot of guys that have come before me have always been about the stats and the facts and and it's a lot of people treat sport as being serious. That's not why you came to sport. You came to sport because you loved it, because of fun, because you wanted to be entertained as fans. That's what you want. You know, it makes you feel a certain way. So why would you not want to showcase, as an interviewer, why would you not want to showcase the people that are obviously making you feel that? You want to showcase their personalities. You want they're much more than just a fighter. They're some of, dads, husbands, wives. Some of them are into some crazy little hobbies or whatever it may be. So all the skills that I used through music entertainment radio, being a bit of a knobhead, as you've just pointed out, is now kind of coming full circle, and we're putting them into interviews with elite level fighters. And I think the fighters are getting a little bit out of it as well, because you've been at these press junkets, mate. It's the same question after. And imagine being that guy where you sat there going, yeah, fight camp went really well. Yeah. And just constantly answering that question. Whereas some geezer comes along and goes, right, let's talk about fishing for a bit. You've been, you know what I mean? And you try to create a different angle. So therefore your audience gets something fresh out of that human being.
No, I agree, because I think that's what me and Danny tried to do. Like, I'll do a lot of research on YouTube, and I'll find out something humorous that happened to them in the past, or if they have something in their private lives that's kind of quite funny, and kind of go down that route. And you can see that we've had fighters say, like on the podcast, that you can see that we're fans and we're a lot more in depth than those how's fight camp and the generic questions that they get, because they kind of get excited. They're like, oh my god, they're actually going to go off script for once. So yeah,
and that is key, right? And you mustn't forget that, because I have this conversation with guys in the industry all the time. I don't class myself as a journalist. I don't class myself as anything special. I'm a fan in a good position. That's it. That's all I am. I'm a fan in a good position. And my job is purely to allow other fans experience the people that they're buying tickets or watching on the TV, experience them in their best possible light. That's it. I'm just the gateway, mate. I'm opening the door to go, I know that you love this guy because he's a brilliant technician when he's in the ring or in the octagon or whatever it may be, but he's also a pretty sound guy. You know what I mean? Pretty funny guy. You know what I mean? And that makes the audience then connect to that person even more so. So therefore, again, going back to what I was talking about before about mainstream audience, then people tune in to see that dude. You know what I mean? They go, do you know something? Yeah, I did. I've never really heard Daniel Dubois speak before. He's actually all right. You know what I mean? He's got a bit of a personality. He has got a tiny bit of a personality. He's getting more comfortable in front of the media. I'm falling for him. Let's watch him fight. And then all of a sudden, his profile goes bigger and bigger and bigger. Audiences grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Mainstream broadcasters then start to invest more in the sport, and then there's more work for me and you. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science.
Do you think boxing needs to go more down that route towards this? The UK listeners will understand this. Kind of the Carragher, the Gary Neville, the Roy Keane, where they're just brutally honest, than just having a bunch of ex-boxers that all drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I think the problem boxing in the UK has got, and obviously I've not watched too much on over your way, so you're better qualified to speak on this than myself. But what you find is that boxing's become tribal, right? And it's weird that, and this fans are doing it, you've got promoters doing it, you've got fighters doing it that believe that a certain promotion or a certain television channel, they're the best ones. They're the best ones. And therefore, when they make matchups that are signed to a particular promoter, you get a lot of biased commentary. You get a lot of biased stuff where they're only really throwing light on the home fighter. And the reason for that, and I've said this on a podcast recently, is when you have guys who are whose jobs rely on obviously that channel remaining or that promotion remaining at the very, very top, you need to sell the athlete to the audience. Now, even if that person's getting a bit of a shellacking in the fight, your job is for the transparency of the fight or transparency of the sport, you just call the fight as you see it, man. You know what I mean? If someone's getting a bit of a nailing, talk legit to your audience, because if you keep lying to them, people will just go, "What's this bollocks, man?" They'll lose interest with it. Whereas over a period of time, if you're honest and you're truthful and you're consistent with what you're saying, people will take note. You know what I mean? People will believe. Again, right? And you'll come across this. You will see so many young fighters in gyms. You will see, you know, I mean, I'm obviously, I work with all the promoters and all the channels here in the UK. And you get certain guys that come to you and say, this guy's going to be a superstar. This guy's going to be the next big thing. This guy's going to be this. This guy's going to be that. And it's easy for me to then go, oh, and then just reiterate that to my audience on major broadcast networks. But you've got to be honest. You've got to use your eyes. And I've fallen into this trap before, because as I said before, it's a relationship game, this. And therefore, right at the start, when you're building them relationships, you don't want to upset anybody. You don't want to piss anybody off. So you try and build that relationship more by bigging up the fighter or bigging up the guy that's on their network and saying, yeah, he's going to be this, he's going to be that. But over a period of time, experience tells you that you shouldn't do that. You should use your eyes, because your most important thing is your audience. You know, they're the ones that are coming and obviously spending money with you guys on your podcast or me on my podcast or tuning into the fights of a night that you're broadcasting on. The audience is the most important thing. If you're honest with the audience, they'll come back time after time after time. And again, we're all learning that. I think I'm at that stage now where I think promoters understand that I'm not going to dance to the tune anymore. I have done in the past, and I admit that. But I'm going to call it for what it is. If someone gets a beating, someone gets a beating. It's as simple as that. And that transparency and that honesty holds you in good stead further down the line. And I just hope that major broadcasters and guys that are connected to certain promotions see that and do a little bit more of it, because it'll help the sport grow long term.
That's one of the reasons that you started the Fight Disciples, right? I think you kind of said that on an episode before. Yeah,
because when you've got to understand when you're broadcasting on a national platform, you are representing them. You're not representing yourself. You're representing them and their interests. So, for example, if a radio broadcaster has done a deal with a promoter, it is your job, obviously, to sell that in the best possible way that you can do, because your employer, the broadcaster, wants people to come and listen to your platform of this particular fight. And the reason why the promoter's gone with the broadcaster is because they want it selling as well. So therefore, you've got to talk favourably in a way about, oh, this fighter, you know what I mean? He's one fight away from a world title. Even though if you think that guy's never going to win a world title in your life, you've got to kind of push those narratives a little bit, because you're selling this to that mainstream audience, okay? When you set up your own independent thing, nobody's holding a gun to your head to say X, Y, and Z. You can legitimately say what you want, and that's why Fight Disciples was set up 4.5 years ago. But even, as I said right at the start of this, Fight Disciples was the catalyst for me to really kick on in the mainstream. And even in those early times of like broadcasting fights on the radio or even getting involved in stuff on the television, you're still pushing a certain narrative to a point where you're saying stuff that you don't necessarily always believe because you're doing a job. Whereas now, again, experience and time, and obviously building your own reputation in a way where people have started to trust you and believe in you, and you can have the confidence of going back to the promoter or back to the broadcast and saying, listen, man, this narrative that you want to push, this ain't going to work well with the audience, because it's just going to backfire on us. Us saying that this guy's going to go on to X, Y, and Z. I'm not saying let's go on there and slag the dude off. That's not what we're all about. Let's be honest. Let's just calm the crack, and we can gain a bit of a reputation of being the legit place to come to with the audience, and then they will trust you for when you do get hyped about someone. So when you do go, listen, for example, 3 years ago, whatever it may be, I got hyped about Teofimo-Lopez, right? Proper hyped. And I said, this dude is going to wreck the whole of this division. And everybody's on me going, mate, you're talking shit. You're talking absolute shit. I said, yeah, but listen, all these other guys that have come along and I've said, this, that, and who I'm supposed to be hyping to you, I'm saying, listen, just cool the jets on this guy, cool the jets on this guy. This guy's going to be amazing, right? And then he starts going through a few dudes and he runs into Richard Comey. And I'm still on the hype train. I'm still hyping it. And other people are going, yeah, but Comey's tough as fuck, man. Yes, he is. There's no doubt about that. He is legit. He is tough as fuck. But trust me, this kid will get the job done. And now we're in a situation where he's fighting the best fighter on the planet. Best fighter on the planet. What's the narrative? Everybody's covering this fight because it's the biggest fight out there right now. Everybody's covering it. It's too much for him. That's what the narrative is right now. It's too much for him because nobody's ever seen a Lomachenko before, and that is legit. And even now, I'm sat there going, I still think he can fucking do it. Now, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of this now, because other people have seen the talent of Lopez and gone, yeah, man. Yeah. He might not. And do you know something? He probably the air of probabilities that he probably will come up short, because he's fighting a fucking alien, for crying out loud. He's fighting an absolute freak, isn't he? But he ain't getting blown away. It'll be a super, super, super fight. And my audience now, because of that honesty and transparency way back when, they've been on that train all the way through. You know what I mean? They've been on that buzz. Don't always get it right. Sometimes you get it massively wrong. But transparency is key when you're wanting to build an audience and build some type of truth. Because if you just want to bullshit them all the time, it'll only last for 2 or 3 years.
When you were transitioning from radio into sports radio, can you remember who your first interview was, the first boxer that you interviewed?
Do you know something? This is really, really random. The first boxer, and I wasn't transitioning at that time. I remember Tyson Fury coming in to a station. Right? This is weird. This was like, it was well before Klitschko, well before, might have been around Chisora, might have been around that time. So I was working in music radio, and I don't know why he came in. I think he came in to do a news piece, because obviously I was working at a Manchester radio station at the time, and obviously he's a local dude. And he came in, and I remember him sitting down, and we were in that studio for about 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours with Tyson Fury, and the majority of the conversation was about God and religion and all this crazy stuff. But I obviously got that gig because people knew, oh, he goes to watch the boxing. He can do the interview. You know what I mean? So yeah, Fury was one of the first. I can't remember if he was the first, but he was definitely one of the first. I remember that being quite significant, because I remember at the time knowing this guy's going to be a world champion. I've seen him box. He's unbelievable. He just needs the pathway to be able to do it. But I built relationships in and around that time as I was transitioning with lads from Gallagher's gym, because obviously it's a Manchester-based place, and he had a lot of top guys in there at the time. So the likes of Scott Quigg, Anthony Crolla, most certainly, all the Smith brothers, all those lads that were coming through that gym at that particular time. I built up good relationships with, and you know, that they were probably some of the first ones that I started to move on. And then obviously into the Liverpool scene, when I met Nick, into that Liverpool scene, the likes of Bellew and all them type of characters. And now that we're on that national thing, I'd like to think that, you know, nobody I wouldn't say close with, but you know what I mean? There's not that many people that you can't get to in order to create a decent enough interview with, because you built decent relationships with.
Any interviews that you've been nervous for? You know, someone like Dana White's a big name in the sport, or, you know, fighters can be kind of intense. You know, you sit down to interview them and they're just staring at you, and you're kind of thinking like, fuck, this better be a good interview.
Yeah, mate, it happens every time. Happens every time. I've just mentioned Fury's name there, right? And there's nobody gets this game more than Tyson Fury. And what I love, and the best relationships and best interviews that I have with people are those that over a period of time are consistent, because you can pick up narrative. So you've interviewed them, I don't know, 3 months ago, you pick up that narrative and you maybe develop it a little bit more, and it keeps growing and keeps growing. Fury changes his answer every time he comes to do an interview with it, right? So it can, like for example, even in the build up to Wilder 2, there's more. In the same week, there's moments where he sat down there and go, yeah, I'm going to walk in there, I'm going to smash the dude. Right, cool. Day after I do an interview with him, I'm going to box him on the back foot. And I'm thinking, what are we doing here? Nobody knows where they stand with him. So Fury's, I find him brilliant. He's a brilliant, brilliant interview, but you never know where you're at with him. He's always playing you. You're never playing him. He's always playing you. And, you've got to take your hat off to him. Regarding a nervous thing, I don't get, if I'm doing stuff on my own, I don't get nervous about it, because they're just another human being to me. Other people create that anxiety around me. So, for example, Conor McGregor's one, isn't it? Right? That's in the world of UFC. It doesn't get that net. It doesn't get bigger than that name. So when you get an opportunity to sit down with Conor, you know that it's got to be right. There's no second takes. You can't fuck it. It's bang, man. You've got to be absolutely nailed on. And I sat down with him last pre the Cowboy fight in January, and I remember walking into that building, and I must have waited about 6-7 hours for him, because they had a media day and he came right at the end of the day. And at the start of the day, I've walked in and go, yeah, it's cool. So we'll interview Cowboy and we interview everybody else that's on that card, and we know Conor's coming at the end of the day. It's cool. And everybody keeps coming up to me going, are you all right about the Conor interview? Is everything all right? I said, hey, I am sound about the Conor interview. Conor's cool. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. But by the time Conor arrived, the amount of people that were in my ear from the UFC or BT Sport and all this that are gone, it's got to be right. This here. What you talking to him about? I said, I don't know yet. I don't know. It's a chill. Right? They got you that ramped up to a point where you're thinking, 5 minutes before he walks in, you're thinking, shit, this better be right. Jesus, right? Okay, better get the old game face on. So Conor has that effect. Dana has that effect, because Dana's another one that takes the narrative. He takes the narrative off you. He's brilliant. I find a lot of the guys in the UFC are a lot better media trained than the guys in the world of boxing, because the world, the UFC's business model it revolves around that, doesn't it? And every single one of them comes to an interview. The majority come to an interview with a narrative of which they wish to push, and things go off on tangents. But no, when you say nerves or anything like that, no, man. I mean, sometimes language barriers can be a struggle, because I'm from the north of England, as you are. Our sense of humour can maybe sometimes it doesn't translate with American audiences or various people like that. I remember interviewing Habib, and Habib's a funny dude, man. He is. He's a funny dude, and he's obviously an elite level mixed martial artist. But me cracking jokes on fight week when he's cutting weight and stuff, you know what I mean? That might not necessarily always translate, and you might just think, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? So yeah, language barriers sometimes, but no, what's to get nervous about? You're doing an unbelievably fortunate job where you get to speak to some of the best athletes on the planet. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. The thing that I don't like is obviously with the pandemic that we've had, the amount of stuff I've had to do over screen, because I'm missing out on the energy of being in the same room as people and having a bit of a chat that way, But it is what it is. Everybody's in the same boat, and we're just making the best of what we've got.
For people that want to, follow your footsteps and come into the sports world as a journalist, when they do the interviews, do you recommend, writing some notes and questions, or do you just write an opener and kind of just build off their answers?
You just said one of the key things there. I always, the night before any interview, I will spend, similar to what you've just been saying there, right? I'll go through the history. I'll go through previous interviews that I've done with them. I'll go through things that they've said on social media or Instagram or whatever it may be, and then I will build a structure to an interview. Only one page of A4. Just build it down and bullet points of little bits of where we could take a narrative of an interview, and there'll be serious bits in there, there'll be fun bits in there. Light and shade is very, very key. If it's all monotone, your audience are going to switch off. So give us a bit of fun, give us some serious stuff, give us them news lines, because you want them to say, listen, I'm going to kick the shit out of this dude, or whatever it may be. I'm calling out that. Whatever it is, build that narrative. But you just said the key thing there, Michael, right? All that goes out the window. And this kind of comes back to what I was saying before about this job being that hobby. Because you're around it and you live it and you're watching it constantly, you know these people. It's not like you're having to read something for, I didn't know that bit. You know what I mean? You know this stuff. You know these guys. You know their energies and those types of things. The key thing, which you just touched upon there, is listen. Too many interviewers don't listen. Yeah. Have your structure at the start. This is my setup. This is the angle I want to push you down. Bang, right? There's my first question. You don't have to go to the second question or the third or the fourth or the fifth. All you've got to do is listen to what that dude's saying. If you don't listen, you will miss maybe the gold that you had an opportunity to go and take by listening to what they say. Because as I said to you 2 minutes ago, the guys, especially from the UFC, they're very well media trained, and they might have an agenda. They might think to themselves, right, okay, I'm doing this interview with BT Sport today. Adam's doing it. There's a decent platform there. There's a few million people going to be watching this. Right, okay, this is my time now to say, I want to fight Masvidal, or whatever it is. I don't know what the narrative is, but they might, in that first bit, just open the crack of a door for you. And if you're listening properly, then you can go, hang on a minute, what do you mean by that? And then they're aware. Then your whole thing's going off on all these different places, and that is just having the confidence that you know this person. You know, don't worry about who's behind the camera. Don't worry about the audience. It's you and them. It's just you and them, one-on-one. We're having a conversation. That is it. Listen to what they say, as you would do with your friends in the pub. Listen to what they say and respond accordingly. Don't be frightened of silence. Don't be frightened of it. They will fill that gap. Don't be frightened of it. Wait. They'll fill the gap for you, and then keep listening. That's all you got to do.
Have you ever had any interviews where, and you don't have to name names, where you couldn't publish it, or they've called you afterwards and they've asked you, like, hey, please don't say that, please don't put that out?
I have. This comes back to relationships again, mate. There have been a few fighters, mainly from the world of boxing. It's never happened. I don't think it's happened in UFC. Just trying to think. Mainly from the world of boxing. They have said stuff in an interview with me that I know full well that if I published it, it would go around the world and show them in a bad light. And I have taken the time to message them after it, or even because I can pick it up straight away. As soon as they're talking about it, I don't want to spoil the flow of the interview. As soon as they've said something that if somebody sees that, if somebody picks up on that, that'll show them off in a bad light. As soon as the interview finishes, I'd make a beeline for it there and then and just go, listen, that shit that you're just talking about, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to cut that out because this could be seen in this light and that's not going to look good on you, mate. And my angle with that, and listen, people might think this is a false way of looking at it. My angle is again, going back to what I said, this is about building relationships. Would you stitch your mates up just to get ahead? There's many dudes out there that would, many people out there that would. I've seen many journalists go in on fighters and I've thought to myself, what are you fucking doing, man? Because they are never going to give you an interview further down the line. If this all comes around the other way, you're knackered. You're not getting back in there. So, and there'll be journalists watching this or listening to this thinking to themselves, well, that's not journalism. That's not what you do. You're there to report the truth of what was said. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. But I take editorial control of what goes out on my platforms, especially, in order to protect the guys that have very kindly given me their time and girls that have given me their time. And I respect that. And I will do everything in my power to protect their best interests, because I want the best for them in order to get the best for me and my platform later down the line. So yeah, I have chopped out stuff from interviews that has been thrown in the bin that nobody will ever see, you know. And people, and I don't think there'll be other people out there that are probably nodding along like this, and they probably know who some of those fighters are that have said certain things. But it is what it is, man.
Apart from Jordan Gill, has any other fighters fallen out with you from giving opinions and stuff? I would say obviously probably from the Fight Disciples, because you and Nick are a little bit more open to say whatever you want. So has any other fighters fallen out with you?
Jordan never fell out with me, man. Jordan's listen, he's come out of this top of the tree, man, because a couple of weeks ago our guys fought each other, didn't they? And he was absolutely superb that night. I get on with Jordan really well. He's a lovely lad. He's a great boxer. And I kind of enjoy the back and forth. That's the thing. You've got to wear this stuff. There's no point in hiding from it. This is sports. People make picks. And some of those picks work out. Some of those picks go wrong. And if they go wrong, just go, fair play, man. Fair play. You won that one, but I'll win the next one. You know what I mean? That's where we're at with it. And I kind of love that. Yeah, there have been. So I don't want to name this particular person, but recently, a fighter's management accused me of something that I never said, and that then damaged. I don't know whether it damaged the relationship between me and that particular fighter, because I've spoken to this fighter recently, and it seems cool. Everything seems okay. All right. But this fighter's management, I mean, proper had me out over it, to the extent where they wouldn't allow their fighter on my shows, and I had to defend myself. I had to justify what I said about a particular thing, and I also had to prove that all the things that they were accusing me that I did say, I didn't say. I didn't say those things, which is mad in itself. At the end of the day, I'm just a geezer giving an opinion in order to help grow the sport. And as I was saying 2 minutes ago, try your very best to report the truth. When you get stuff wrong, you hold your hands up for it. But on this particular occasion, I was adamant that I wasn't wrong. When now that particular situation seems to be in a place where it's all right. I've no doubt it'll flare up again at some point. That's just the nature of the business. But it seems to be all right.
Obviously, you have a great job. You travel around, you get to go to all the fights. But what would you say is the biggest misconception with the job that you do? Because I'm sure everyone thinks it's first-class travel, 5-star hotels in Vegas. You just rubbing shoulders with all the celebrities and the talent, Nick Pete.
Yeah, man. The biggest misconception is that I'm a millionaire. I ain't. You just said there that, I mean, you do get to go to these fantastic places to cover the most fantastic events. I mean, going to Vegas to watch fight sports is just, oh man, it's every time I'm there, it's like bucket list ticking constantly, But it is work. I'm not there on a jolly. I'm speaking from my wife's point of view now. She just thinks, right, he's off to Vegas for a week, kids. He doesn't love us anymore. He's off for 7 days. He's getting a tan on his face and he's just watching fights. That's not the case. It's proper. You're working from 8 in the morning and you're cracking on till 6, because as I just said there, fighters are unpredictable. Conor McGregor doesn't want to turn up for an interview. You sit there, mate. You sit in a room by yourself for 8, 9. Oh, Conor's here now, right? Get on with your interview. Get it cracked out. Don't get me wrong. Of an evening, there's some lovely times to go out with Nick and a few of the lads for a pint or two. But then it's the same again the day after. So it ain't a jolly. None of it's a jolly. You'll know this yourself, mate, because when you're trying to build your own brand, when you're trying to build your own podcast, you're constantly knocking doors. You're constantly asking, not getting, constantly, coming up against roadblocks, and therefore you've got to think of more creative ways in order to get to the wherever it is that you want to go. Right at the start of all this, before I moved into the more mainstream media type stuff, you've got to justify it to your family as well, haven't you? You know what I mean? What do you mean you're doing a podcast? What do you mean you're doing a YouTube channel or a blog or all this type of stuff? How much is it paying you? It's not paying me anything. not paying me anything. I've no sponsor. I'm not, nobody gets a sponsor like that. You've got to build that audience. You've got to keep persisting. You've got to be consistent with what you're doing. And then hopefully, the key moment for Fight Disciples was winning that first podcast award. When we got that, then all of a sudden people went, well, go on then. We might spend a few quid with you. And then it builds from there. So there'll be loads of people that listen to me, listen to you, listen and watch what we do and think that there's been an easier path for us or whatever. No, man, you've got to believe in what you do, enjoy what you do, love what you do, and be consistent with it and persistent with it. And hopefully it doesn't happen for everybody. I get that, but hopefully certain things do drop, which then make life an awful lot easier. But yeah, the misconceptions is that I'm just on holiday for 12 months of the year, which is far from the case, mate.
We've kind of touched on it already, but the creation of Fight Disciples. So you were saying that Nick P came onto your show as a guest, and then it went from there.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, man. I was looking for new voices to come and talk boxing on the show. And MMA really, because in the UK there's only a limited amount of guys that are covering the sport that are, in my opinion, solid enough to come onto radio programs, sound eloquent enough to help the energy of the programs that I was trying to create at the time. And I was recommended Nick by a Scouse journalist that I knew that was covering Liverpool Football Club at the time. And Nick came on. I think we were probably speaking about Bellew or something random like that. And the energy was good. I think he came on as a guest 2, maybe 3 times, and then he actually called my producer at the time and he said, "Is there any chance that I could have Adam's number? I could do with chatting to him about something because I want to do. I've got an idea for this and I've got an idea for that." And next thing you know, we went out for a beer, just a local bar in Liverpool, and Fight Disciples was born. Man, the idea was there, and he started spitballing about. Because at the time he was the editor of Fighters Only magazine, so he was flying high, man. He was doing his thing. He was creating all these fantastic award ceremonies for the UFC and interviewing all the fighters all over the planet. And he was sound. He was earning good dough doing his thing, but he wanted to do his own thing. He wanted his own brand, and he obviously got it all out of his system. And I went, okay. And this is kind of how it works all the time, right? Nick comes up with these mad ideas and he chucks all these mad things out there, but because of the experience that I've had 20 years in broadcasting, whereas his experience has mainly been in print, I know how to turn that idea into something watchable or listenable. So he might come out and say, "What about this?" I'll go, "Yeah, that's mad as fuck, but we've got to do this and this in order to get to this point. So trust how I'm going to put this together for us." And it kind of just works like that, His energy is exactly what I need when I'm broadcasting. I know exactly what he's going to do. I know exactly how to team up, and he kind of knows exactly what I'm going to come to him with. And that's probably why it's worked a lot. You kind of have this imposter syndrome at the start of creating something like this, where you think, do people really want to listen to me talking about boxing or mixed martial arts? So therefore, at the front, if you go back to right at the start of Fight Disciples, it's front loaded with a lot of guests. You have like all the Scouse fighters are on there week after week. There's a guest of which we're thinking, right, people want to tune in for them. People want to tune, and they do. Don't get me wrong, they do. They most certainly want to tune in to listen to Darren Till. They most certainly want to listen to Bellew when he was active and all these types of characters. But over a period of time, what I found out was on most listened to episodes were when the chemistry between me and Nick was absolutely red hot, whether it was funny, whether it was arguing, whatever it may be. And that's what we concentrated on then. We sat down and said, listen, we don't need to go OTT with guests. This is about me and you now. This is about me and you building Fight Disciples as our thing and what we should be known for. And that's when it started to really kick off, when we concentrated on the strength of it, which is our chemistry. So yeah, man, he came on as a guest and he's not gone home. He's still here.
The growth of Fight Disciples, where do you see it in 5 years?
It's changed. The the brand's kind of changed because, as I said, when we started it, it was a case of wanting a platform for ourselves to be able to say what we wanted to say about fight sports. But in the back of my mind, it was always a showcase. It was always a place where I could then point people, mainstream media or whoever, sponsors, to go, there you go. This is what we do. Come and either take this to your place or come and get involved and spend some money with us and hopefully make us a bit of a living. And because the mainstream media side of it have really grabbed hold of it and gone, right, we're going to put this on our platform. It's kind of, as a brand, just ticking. It's ticking along as its own thing. It's more so now just a place where we can go and just vent all our frustrations, which is great. On a Monday, we sit there and we do our thing. I think as a brand going forward, do you know? I think the main thing for us is this isn't about becoming rich or anything like that. I just want to be able to cover all the best fights in the world and pay me bills. You know, that's it. That's all I want to do. Be able to pay me bills, fly around the world, interview top fighters, go home, spend some time with my kids, rinse and repeat, do that. And if that means that people associate the two lads on BT Sport, the Fight Disciples lads are now doing the BT Sport stuff, or the Fight Disciples lads are doing the Talk Sport stuff, or whatever it may be, then so be it. I've no doubt that if we had this conversation in a year from now, because obviously we just brought out our own beer, we might have a different take on it, you know, because that beer at the moment, there's a lot of people that like beer that listen to us, mate. So that might be the thing. Conor McGregor's making some proper money in it, so let's jump on it and see if we can.
Do you have a favourite episode? Maybe the one where Nick threw up in the trash can?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Either Nick throwing up live on the radio, of which, going back to what you were talking about, editorial control, I refused to cut out. I said, no, we weren't filming it. So I made the security guard in the building give me the CCTV footage. So I said, right, that's going out. So the one where he threw up after an all-day bender the night before, that was a good one. The one after Lomachenko and Luke Campbell, where he was absolutely obliterated, trying his very best to do a podcast, and I just went, I'm not editing any of this. This is amazing. This is just. He literally turned up to work at an event and just got pissed with other fans that were there to watch Lomachenko. Amazing. So yeah, man, those two, and anything that we do with Till. Darren, he's good value, he's Darren, and Darren will always be part of the Fight Disciples narrative because we were on that well before a lot of people, and it's nice to see guys that are with you right at the start that go on to become real superstars. Till's done that. I wouldn't be surprised it would be wonderful at some point if Jordan Gill can get to a level where he's fighting for a title, a major title or something like that, and we can be on that bandwagon. But yeah, man, I mean, for me, it's nice now every time I go over to America and see Lopez randomly. I'm supposed to be interviewing him later on this week. So I kind of like now catching up with Teofimo Lopez, because when we first started chatting, we were chatting all the time. He was on my radio show every single week because he was a prospect. He was just coming through. Nobody knew him. Nobody in England knew him or anything like that. Now that he's who he is, it's nice to catch up. And I go, listen, I remember you when you were in fucking nappies, right? Stop this. You know what I mean? That relationship's quite nice to be able to catch up on those particular things. So hopefully the new generation that are coming through that we're speaking to on a regular basis have that, and we can continue those journeys with them.
Obviously, you cover MMA and boxing. Do you feel that as a journalist, you have to be more knowledgeable when you're covering the MMA, because you have to obviously kind of tell people what's going on, the different techniques, where in boxing, you've got a jab, a hook, a straight, an uppercut. So do you think it's a kind of like a different audience altogether?
Yeah, it is a different audience. And as you've just said, you do have to have knowledge on more skill sets, because we've been doing quite a lot of commentary recently on the radio. So stand-up games and kickboxing and various bits like that to a fan from where we're from is second nature. But understanding chokeholds, grapples, and wrestling bases, and where people are doing mad stuff from the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You've got to educate yourself on that. And I'm lucky that I work with Dan Hardy on the TV, you know. So every day that I'm with Dan, it is a lesson. And it's not like he sits down and it's teacher pupil type stuff. I just listen. Again, going back to the interview side of stuff, picking up, watching fights with a fighter and listening to them talk about that fight is the best education anybody can ever have. There's no doubt about that. And I'm lucky that I get to do that with Dan. I'm not there yet. I'm not fully at. I couldn't sit here now and call every single maneuver, especially when it comes to grappling. But that's the beauty of it, man. We're all learning, aren't we? We're all going in a certain direction where we're wanting to get better, and that's most certainly things that I'm working on a day-to-day basis.
Eddie Hearn seems to have a current love-in with Dana White. What do you think boxing can take from the UFC model?
Loads, man. I think if you're a fan of both, you'll understand how frustrating boxing can be at times. There's too many belts. I mean, these are all things that boxing fans will go, yeah, but let's be honest about it. There's too many belts, too many promoters, too many TV channels, too much bullshit. Whereas I know that the business model from the UFC is completely different. You've got one singer, one song, right? And what he says goes, or what the organization says goes. And I get that the fighters in the UFC are paid an awful lot less than the guys and the girls that compete in the world of boxing. Fair enough. That most certainly needs to be reviewed. But I think from a fan experience point of view, the UFC have nailed it. The fans always win in the UFC, whereas I don't think the fans always win in the world of boxing. From the experience of going to the arena, where you sat around waiting for fights to take place, then a floater comes out and it just drags and drags and drags. When you go to an arena, it should be like theatre. You go to a UFC event, it's like, whoa, crap. It's one event, bang, next event, bang, and it's just slick. And before you know it, you've watched 8 fights and you're thinking, fucking hell, where's time gone? Yeah. That's what that experience should be like. In boxing, it's not always like that because you've turned up for 9 times out of 10 the main event, haven't you? That's what you've turned up for. Yeah, of course, UFC fans turn up for a juicy main event, but they know full well that the first card on the prelims could be the fight of the night. They know that because of the way that things have been matched and just the way that the UFC positions certain things on their cards. Boxing can learn that. They need to get better with matchmaking. They need to lose this interest in undefeated records. Floyd Mayweather sold it, didn't he? He absolutely sold the beauty of keeping your own and making the most amount of money. And that's what a lot of boxers look at. Mayweather's money, Mayweather's life. What did Mayweather do? He was undefeated. We need to be undefeated. Well, no, actually. No, you don't really. He was just an anomaly that were out there. I think if you're involved in entertaining fights, if you're giving the audience more bang for their buck, they're more likely to come back the next time and pay to watch you fight. You know, we've all got our favourite fighters. We've all got those guys that we love to go and watch. We've also got those guys that we've got an opinion on where we're going, yeah, I can see the talent. I can see how good he is. And yeah, he's undefeated, but he's boring as shit. I'm not going to go and watch that. You know, we're here for an entertainment point of view. So I think from a boxing needs to take those learns from the UFC. And we're kind of learning even more so now, aren't we, in this pandemic, where I think I made a comment the other day where Josh Taylor defends his title on the 26th of September. I know Cal Yafai defended and lost his title to Chocolatito in February. But out of the current British world champions, not one of them has defended the world title this year. Not one. This calendar year, not one. And only Taylor's got a fight booked. I know we're talking AJ for December, but nobody's got fights booked. Terry Harper's the female champion that we've got. She defended against Natasha Jonas. But all the guys, all the men, they haven't defended the world titles as of yet. You cross over to the UFC, they've got 12 world titles up for grabs, both men and women. 10 of those titles have already been defended. Habib's booked for October, the lightweight title. We had an interim title fight, but the full title's on the line in October. And Amanda Nunes, who has already defended a featherweight belt this year, is going to defend a bantamweight belt in December. So all of them are going to be defended. in a pandemic, no fans in arenas. You know, I know it's a different business model. I know that, and I know that they've got more power to be able to do that. But boxing should look at it, and it should be saying, right, this is the road that we need to go down. It's looking like, and I think you're blessed with this, Mike, over your neck of the woods, that America seems to have started to realise it a bit, and they've started to just start to put a few shows on. 26th of September, you're getting then Charlo boys fighting some proper fights. They're proper fights that a lot of people are going to be excited about. You've got Teofimo and Lopez going at it 17th of October, haven't you? And a few others are starting to be rumoured where you're going, that's a good fight. That's a good fight. I just hope over here in the UK that they go, we need to get Joshua out, man. We need to get him out. We need to do the Pulev fight. We need to do this. We need to do that, because if they don't, they're going to lose a lot of fan base. People are just going to go, I'm into fight sports, but during the pandemic, there were no fight sports for me to get stuck into. So I started, oh, hang on a minute. What's this UFC stuff? Fuck, hell, this is mad. This is a bit of me. So when they come back to boxing a couple of weeks later and they're being served up shit, they'll go, this isn't for me anymore, man. I'm going to go and watch Khabib against Justin Gaethje, because I know that's going to be a proper fight.
What's your opinion on the news that Dana White, who seems to be a goddamn genius, has just purchased 10 acres of land in Vegas to build a hotel and an arena so the UFC can be 100% self-sufficient?
Not daft, is it? Not daft. If you look at, they have a full understanding of content with the UFC, and in the world that we're living in right now, if you own content, fucking hell, man, you are just laughing your nuts off. If you have got good content, you can sell it for whatever price you want to sell it for. And of course, when you start something off, you need assistance in order to get eyes on your product. So you need television platforms, you need the social media platforms and various other things like that. You need to go to certain sites in order to put your events on, because that's where traditionally fighters and fight fans go to. For the UFC to have their own facility to be able to house fighters and fans, whether it's to have their own octagon at the Apex, I mean, that facility is unbelievable. If you've not been, mate, go. It's absolutely mad. And within that, they've got their own TV studios. They've got Fight Pass, their own channel in a way. And there's a lot of people looking at the UFC going, fucking hell, they're on it. We need to do more stuff like that. And I think we're going to get to a point with the UFC, and I think boxing will get there, because I can see Matchroom kind of copying little bits of it. That their content is going to not end up on major platforms. It's not going to end up on ESPN, for example. It's not going to end up on Sky Sports. It's going to be in-house, because they can control it. They can control narratives. They can they've got relationship direct with sponsors or whatever it may be. They can charge fans like Netflix. It'll turn to Netflix, you know? So fans will be going, yeah, I'm a UFC fan, so I pay £10 a month. I get all my UFC, everything. It's all here. I get all my interviews with my fighters. I get all my fights. I get Dana's updates. Content will just be churning out day after day after day after day, and it'll all be in house, and it'll all be owned and binned out by the UFC, and they'll earn fucking daft cash. And I've no doubt, watching what Matchroom are doing with their little bits of content that they're doing. I mean, they're doing their own embedded series and all these types of things. I'm thinking, I know where you've seen it, and you're not wrong. That's the right way of going about it. Fair play, man. So yeah, listen, Dana's a visionary. He's a guy whose tenacity has most certainly got us to this point. Look at the development of mixed martial arts in the UFC over this 20-odd year period, where it was banned in New York for a period of time, and he's just constantly gone at it. Look at this. Look at the pandemic, man. Everybody were going, what the fuck are they doing? What are they doing? Going to Jacksonville? What this is ridiculous. There's people out there dying and all this type of stuff. 100% right. Absolutely right. And they've had, I mean, in that first week, they had Jacare Souza fail a test, didn't they? In that very first week. But since the 9th of May, they've hit the ground running. And I can't think of another sport. I can't think of any of them out there right now where the fans that are hardcore baseball fans or NFL fans or NBA fans or football fans here in the UK, where they're all going, oh, fucking hell, I just want it to get back to normal. UFC fans, yeah, of course. UFC fans are sat there going, I'd love to be in the arena, but fucking hell, we're getting Israel Adesanya against Paulo Costa, man. What a fight that is. Even if I've got to sit on my ass at home and watch it with a beer in my hand, doesn't matter. I'm getting the fight. I'm getting the entertainment.
I'd just like to, whilst I've got you, Adam, get your kind of view on some upcoming fights. Tonight we've got Jamel Herring against Jonathan Oquendo. And then obviously, if Jamel wins, we get the huge Carl Frampton fight, either in the UK or over here in the US. What do you think of that fight and then the future fight?
Is it happening? Has he flagged up for COVID yet?
Well, they weighed in yesterday and passed, so hopefully.
Got a feel for Jamel, man. I mean, what a dude he is. What an absolute dude. Everything that he's done for America, serving in the armed forces and what have you. Now, obviously, going on to achieve all he's achieving in the world of fight sports. For him to have gone through everything that he's gone through over the last couple of months, with getting COVID, passing tests, failing tests, fights falling out on the day of fights, all against the same opponent. I mean, he must have been training for Oquendo for about 3 years. It feels like that, doesn't it? It's a good fight, this. It's a really good fight. Oquendo's no mug. I think he'll come and he's going to ask questions of Herring. And if Herring's got any after effects of having COVID or anything like that, then, you know, I can't see him struggling because I'm a big fan of Jamel Herring. And I'm a believer in, what should I say? I believe in the romance of him and Carl Frampton eventually getting it on. It's good to speak to Carl about that fight. Great to speak to Bob Arum about that fight. And he's adamant that, I mean, last time I spoke to Bob, I've got him on the radio tonight, but last time I spoke to Bob, he was insinuating that Jamel Herring, Carl Frampton on the undercard of Fury Wilder 3. I mean, imagine that. That'd be absolutely amazing, wouldn't it? That would be tremendous. It's a tough fight for Carl, but it's a fight that's history making for British and Irish boxing, you know, to be the first guy from where he's from to be a 3-weight world champion. Jesus Christ. And probably the toughest out of the lot. Don't get me wrong, the Leo Santa Cruz fight, going into it, a lot of people would have said, okay, no, Carl, this is tough, mate. But it's at a weight category that he was probably a little bit more comfortable. You seen the size of Herring? You stood next to him.
Massive, yeah.
Jesus Christ, man, he's absolutely huge. So let's fingers crossed he comes through it. And I think he will. I think Herring will come through. I hope he looks really good, like devastating, you know what I mean? Which then gets everybody on the edge of your seat going, fuck it, here we go. This is proper now. And we can get that on before the end of the year because boxing needs the biggest of fights. Carl Frampton's got a massive army of fans here in the UK. That will do wonders for British and Irish boxing here anyway. And I know that obviously the story of Jamel Herring has really resonated with a lot of fans in the States and over here in the UK as well. So Herring, Frampton, fucking beautiful, man. Bring it to me.
Canelo, do you think we'll see him this year?
What's going on with him and DAZN? I mean, DAZN have dished up, what is it, $35 million a fight.
Yeah.
Without having much say of any of his opponents. If I'm Canelo, I'm going, yeah, all right, I'll have a fight with Yildirim. That's a nice easy little trinket for me. I'll crack on with that. It doesn't look good, man. And I know that the broadcaster is standing up and making noise about these fights that they're not into. But have they not made the bed? I don't know. I don't know the legalities of that situation. My instinct would be that we won't see Canelo this year, which is a bit of a shame because despite my thoughts on him and his clenbuterol and his hair follicles and all this Mexican meat nonsense, still the biggest name, isn't he? He's still the biggest name. He's still got the biggest following. And even though all those things that I've just said, he's still elite level, man. And we want to see it. We want to see him against Smith, Billy Joe Saunders. We want to see him in with these. I mean, I'd even want to see him in with Triple G again. You know what I mean? Why not? Why not? Just give us the biggest fights. My gut instinct, though, and you'll know more, Michael, being over there and being around, obviously, the zone and what they're doing. My gut instinct is that we won't see him, which is going to be a real shame.
Because it looked like they were going to obviously stick him in with an English opponent because they were going to launch the zone in the UK at that time. So, you know, obviously it made sense to stick him in there either with Callum or Billy Joe. So, yeah,
that was due for the start of May, wasn't it? But then it all kind of fell through. I've not heard much about whether regarding a new date for the zone in the UK. That'll be interesting if they still go with it. But I'm not interested in the Yildirim fight. I'm sure you're not either. I mean, Yildirim got absolutely starched by Eubank Jr., didn't he? I know that we have, mandatories and rankings for a particular reason, but let's be honest, rankings are all over the gap, aren't they? You know what I mean? The WBA have just ranked Sergio Martinez after a little knock in bloody Barcelona. Jesus Christ. So, God knows.
Wilder Fury 3?
Do I think we'll get it?
Do you think we'll see it? Because obviously Wilder seems to have just disappeared. His social media, there's no training, there's none of his usual, speeches and shouting at Fury to create some kind of atmosphere.
Do you not like that, though?
I like it, but there isn't any of it. So is Wilder coming back? Is he is he just mentally not there? He's just recovering?
Stealth. Wilder's gone full stealth. I like it. Yeah. We only saw him when Dillian White got knocked out, didn't we? He popped up, little Polish phrase, and then cleared off. Do I think we'll get it? I think the noise that I constantly get out of Bob Arum and Frank Warren here in the UK is that it doesn't happen without fans. I know that we're trialing stuff here in the UK. I don't know what you're doing over in the States, but you've got that massive Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, haven't you? Can they get 10, 20,000 people in a 60,000 stadium in order to get that fight on? Because they seem obsessed. Every time I speak to Bob and Frank about it, the second fight, the first one in Vegas, was a record breaker when it came to the gate. I think they did $18 million on there, you know what I mean? Which obviously takes care of a lot of those purses for those heavyweight boys. And without that money, where did they recoup it? But I think, in fact, the more I think about it, it probably can't happen without fans, because as a pay-per-view model, do fans get pumped up for a third fight when the second one was so conclusive? It was if it was the second fight where it's Fury rising from the dead and and a lot of American fans thinking that Wilder had won, you could probably flog it as a massive pay-per-view. You could probably charge an extra $5 or an extra £5 for it. Here we go. Has he got it? Can he stay away from that right hand or left hand for 12 rounds or whatever? But because the second fight's happened and he was so dominant, man, he was just unbelievable to be there and just go, what the fuck are we watching? This is unbelievable. I don't know. The appetite for the third one isn't as thirsty as it was for the second one. So I think they do need to have fans in there. Hopefully, hopefully the trials that we're having in the UK with audience coming back, filters to America, you can get a few people in there, because unless Saudi Arabia come along and go, all right, we'll allow fans back in now. Here we go. We'll give you a few quid. We'll give you a nice little site fee to compensate for the full arena not being there. I would love it to happen this year, mate, because I think, as I said earlier on, we need the biggest names to fight in order to move the sport on. And we also want the opportunity to see an undisputed heavyweight champion, don't we? We haven't had one since 1999. It's ridiculous that the best don't fight the best. Politics get in the way of all these crazy things. And as Brits, we're in a really unique position where, I mean, if they both come through, if AJ comes through Pulev, if Fury comes through the Wilder fight, look at that. We've got all the belts in Great Britain. That fight should happen, regardless of who's promoting who and who's eating off whoever's plate. That fight should happen, and it should happen very early on in 2021, hopefully.
Luke Campbell, Ryan Garcia?
Mate, the golden boy like Garcia. What's going on there? It's a real test, isn't it? I mean, we're going to find out whether the hype is real or not, because Luke Campbell, I don't know, maybe a lot of fans over in the States have looked and gone, got beat off Linares, got beat off Lomachenko. Listen, at the time, Linares was one of the pound for pound very, very, very best. And if Luke Campbell doesn't go down in the, first or second round it was, and there's maybe another round on it, he was in the ascendancy in that fight. He gave a great account of him. It was high level, high risk chess against Lomachenko. No great shame there of getting outpointed by Vasyl Lomachenko, who was superb on the night. Luke was very, very good on the night, but he was most certainly beaten. Ryan Garcia, young, fresh, believes in himself, talks the talk. We're going to find out whether he can walk the walk. I'm going to back the Brit. I'm going to back Luke Campbell to do it, because let's not forget this geezer is an Olympic gold medalist. He's got the pedigree. He is legit, Luke Campbell. But Ryan Garcia has been impressive up to this point, hasn't he? You can't throw shade on what he's done so far, but this is a massive, massive step up for him. Let's see if the hype's real.
Then we've kind of already touched on it, but Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko.
Come on. That's the fight, isn't it? That is the fight. Do you know what I'm gutted about? I'm gutted that we're living in these times right now when this fight's going on, because how good would press conferences be with Lopez's dad?
Yeah.
It'd just be mental. It'd be viral content day after day after day after day. It'd be absolutely outstanding. It would be wonderful to be around it. Lomachenko's such a cool dude, such a nice guy, but he's a spiteful little shit when he's in that ring. He absolutely loves it. Lopez, listen, I backed him years ago. He hasn't let me down. He's much more than just power. He's very thoughtful with his work. I think it'll be the last time that we see him at this weight because he's just too big, mate. He's massive. He's got a battle with them scales, let me tell you, to get himself on weight.
He's even bigger after the pandemic.
He's massive. Yeah.
He's been training a lot, and that's one of the things I was thinking is that this fight's coming up, and he already struggled, and he looks like he's put on some size, so kind of boiling himself down.
Listen, I'm with you. And let's not. Lomachenko's not natural at his weight. He's fighting probably 1-2 weights above where he should be. So it is the super fight, mate. I can't get enough of this fight. And again, we're going to see an undisputed champion at lightweight. I'm not buying into all this bullshit with franchise and Devin Haney's got this belt or whatever it may be. No, this is the guy at lightweight. Whoever wins this fight is the guy at lightweight. I'm not going to. Do you know something? Let's do it. Let's get stuck in, man. Let's do the prediction. There's always a passing of the torch fight in there. There's always a moment where you go, that was the moment. Like Mayweather fighting Oscar. Right, now he becomes the guy. I think this is the guy. This is the time for Lopez. I think this is the time.
Out of the 5, I would say major prospects: Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and who's the 5th one that everyone always talks about?
Well, you got Virgil Ortiz coming through, haven't you? And you got Jaron Ennis and all them type of kids.
Who do you think in 5?
Is that what you're talking about, Tank?
I think probably Virgil Ortiz, Ennis in 5-10 years from now. Who do you think we look back on and has had the better career?
Oh, mate, what a question that is, you dirtbag! Right. If he gets his head screwed on, right? If he gets his head screwed on and stays around Mayweather, Gervonta Davis could be the best of the lot, right? He is unreal, that kid. But from what I've seen of Virgil Ortiz, wow, man. He is special, that dude. You're blessed. You are so lucky to be in and around. Devin Haney's unbelievable. Virgil Ortiz is good. Jaron Ennis, I think he's just had a date booked as he's coming back soon, isn't he, to see him fight again. Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. Wow.
I saw Virgil years ago training with Joe Diaz up in Indio, sparring Lucas Matisse and giving him hell.
You'd look at it and Teofimo, geez, man, pick who's going to have the better career. I think it's going to be who goes. I think they're all going to be world champions, all of them. How many weights can they do it at? What level of opponent is around for them to go and beat? Do they fight each other? My gut instinct would be. My gut instinct's always been Tank. It's always been Tank. Ever since I saw him burst onto the scene and that fight against Pedraza, when he absolutely obliterated Pedraza, I thought, Pedraza's no mug, man. That was unbelievable what he did that night. And I thought, right, come on, get your head straight, get in the game, stay focused on your sport. And he could go through a lot of these dudes, mate, because he's got power and he's got technique. I think he could be the guy.
Teofimo Lopez, with his body type, I could see him fighting a lot of them because he's done 135, can probably do 140, and could probably do 147 and end up fighting Virgil Ortiz.
Now we're talking dreams, aren't we, man? Listen, you know what I think of Teo? It is this. If he does Lomachenko, I'll change my answer. If he does Lomachenko, he's the guy, mate. He's the guy to go and beat in it at any weight class. Doesn't matter. I mean, then he steps up to what? He could go to 140, and imagine him and Josh Taylor.
I was saying the other day, last week on the podcast, I think Teofimo Lopez steps up to 140. I think Josh Taylor fights Jose Ramirez. I think win, lose or draw, those guys probably step up for 147 so they can fight Terence Crawford for a bigger payday, which vacates those belts for Teofimo Lopez, coincidentally, all with Top Rank, keep it in-house, he can step up and take, one or two of those titles.
Mate, I think you've nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I mean, imagine. I mean, it's a bit of a bad one, isn't it, that Crawford just can't get these super fights at welterweight right now, because I think he's legit. But if you get an undisputed champion now at super light, with which hopefully we will do, we'll get that fight made. I know there's mandatories and what have you, but hopefully we can get Taylor and Ramirez made. I'd back Taylor in that fight, and if Taylor can come through that, Taylor versus Crawford, shit the bed, man. That'd be unbelievable. I don't care. Crawford could come back down to 140 for that. I don't care. Just make that fight, because that would be absolutely outrageous. And like you say, then you put Teofimo in the mix with those lads as well. It's all Top Rank. You can all make these fights. Look at you. We're living in a pandemic, and I'm complaining that fights aren't getting made. And now we're spitballing fights that could get made over the next 2 years or so. Amazing.
Kell Brook, your friend, and Terence Crawford.
Yeah. Listen, on paper, you look at it and you go, but...
Makes sense.
Mate, listen, if you've got Errol Spence taking on Danny Garcia, you've got Pacquiao, who would probably need some type of site fee in order to put that fight on because of the type of dough that you need to generate. You've got Keith Thurman wanting post-pandemic crazy money. What is it, 10 million or something crazy that he wants for that fight? I'm trying to think of the other 147s that you could probably get. Everybody at PBC, they don't seem to want to match him up with Terence. So you look around at everybody and think, right, who's the best of the rest? Who can Terence Crawford go and fight? And you look at Kell Brook, former world champion at 147. Listen, it's not sexy. You want Terence Crawford in with the best of the best, and the best of the best is, for me, Errol Spence. That's what you want him to be fighting. But everybody else, they're not available. You can't make the fights. It's weird. Mikey Garcia won't do deals with Top Rank. So you've got to go and get the best of the rest. And the best of the rest at the moment, you can market former world champion Kell Brook. Let's do it, man. And it's a common opponent, I suppose, isn't it? We're Errol Spence. So maybe that's where they're at. But yeah, listen, imagine, I would love Kell to be able to do something magnificent just one last time. But Terence Crawford's a fucking different kettle of fish, man. He's the best switch hitting boxer for me that there is out there right now. I think he's outstanding.
If Terence Crawford doesn't get any of the PBC guys and goes on to retire, looking back at his resume, even though he's obviously cleared out 140, gained the title at 147, but he doesn't get any of those names. In your opinion, how do you look back on that career? Because obviously, you need to build up a resume of bodies, shall we say, to be able to really judge how good he is. Looking at him and looking at the style that he has and how good he is, and he is good, but he just doesn't have any of those big names on there.
It'd be disappointing, man. It'd be disappointing. And everybody needs those defining times, don't they? Everybody needs that defining moment where the world, the boxing guys, everybody in the world of boxing knows. Everybody knows. But the mainstream need that moment where they go, fuck, he's the guy. And I think, sadly for Terence, when he was at 140 and he became undisputed champion, the stellar names weren't there, were they? You're looking at it and you're going, oh, well, the big names weren't there. That's why he's gone to 147, because the monster names are there. Pacquiao's there. I know he's getting on and he's ready for running for president at the Philippines, but he's still the biggest name. I don't care what anybody says. He's still the biggest guy. There's still the biggest pay-per-view draw. Pacquiao's still there. Errol Spence has obviously gone abroad, beat Kell Brook, put in some nice, solid performances. He's had that, I know this is going to sound bad, but he's had that car crash, which probably brought him to the attention of even more people from a mainstream point of view. And they're interested now, oh, that car crash guy's fighting next. And he's fighting a real good opponent in former world champion in Danny Garcia. You want to see Terence Crawford, though, in those fights. I have got a feeling, mate, that we're going to be having that discussion in 2 or 3 years' time where we're still going to be saying, is Terence Crawford going to fight X, Y, and Z? Can we get that fight with X, Y, and Z? Does Terence have to make a promotional decision? Does he have to say, okay, Top Rank can't get me this fight? And don't get me wrong, he's been brilliant for Top Rank. Top Rank have looked after him really, really well. I'm sure he gets paid really, really well, and he's achieved all these fantastic things. But if I'm Terence now at what 32?
32, I think, yeah.
32 years of age. If I'm Terence now, I'm sat there and I'm going, my legacy needs Errol Spence. My legacy needs Pacquiao. It needs Thurman. It needs Summit. It needs something, because the fans decide at the end of the day, don't they? And I know that they don't pay his bills, but if he can go and get Pacquiao, which is probably the most likely out of them all, right now, because Bob's got an all right relationship with Pacquiao. If he can go and get Pacquiao and beat Pacquiao, then all of a sudden the fans will go, Terence Crawford's the guy. You get more noise then for him, don't you? You get more noise for Terence Crawford. And then all of a sudden, hopefully, someone like Errol Spence, who has to take control of it himself, he then goes to Al Heyman and he goes, let's make the fight, man. Top Rank and PBC have been doing bits recently together, haven't they? They did Wilder Fury together, so we know that they can work. So come on, let's get that fight on, because the last thing you want to be doing in 5 years' time is looking back going, shoulda, woulda, coulda. People like Billy Joe Saunders might do the same thing. Those types of guys are going to be doing the same thing. Elite talent that could compete with the very, very best, but did they do enough to make the super fights? We'll only time to tell.
Do you think Crawford needs to take a stand and, just call them out, kind of WWE style, just stand in the ring, demand it?
You've been around him. It's not his style, is it? He's
a hard interview.
Yeah, well, he's just here for fighting, mate. He's just here for fighting. He's not here to entertain us. He's not he's not that mouthy dude. He's not, the WWE guy. He's not Floyd Mayweather. Maybe because I've had conversations with fighters in the past about stuff like this. Talent alone doesn't necessarily get you to the level that you want to be. You've got to be of interest to the fan, haven't you? You've got the fan has got to buy into what you're all about. I remember an interview that I did with Colby Covington last year, about the persona that he created. He created this character in order to become more interesting. And look at where he's at right now. All of a sudden, his UFC career went boom, right through the roof. And you see certain fighters getting, rocking that microphone that progress at a quicker rate than fighters that are probably technically and better than them in the ring or the octagon. He probably does. He probably does have to get mouthy. He probably does have to, start turning up at people's fight. I know we're living in this pandemic time, so he can't do that, but we need to start. And to his credit, Terence, I see him at a lot of fights. I see him at a lot of events. He's always at every Top Rank event.
Yeah.
He just needs to get on that microphone more. He says, do you know something? I'm getting fed up. Everybody's saying I'm running from Errol Spence. Bullshit. Errol Spence is taking fights with Danny Garcia. Fight me, man. I don't give a shit if there's any fans in the arena. Come and fight me. Let's get it on. Because the welterweight division deserves it. Look at all the killers that are in there. They can't just keep dancing around each other and keeping it within PBC when you've got this stellar fighter that holds the WBO trinket and he's just sat there waiting to get in and amongst that smoke.
Talking about being good on the mic, Daniel Dubois against Joe-Joyce.
Yeah. Stop letting them chat to each other. That's what I say. It's a great fight. I just hope the noise has always been, well, it can only happen if fans are back in arenas. The noise here in the UK is that fans will start to trickle back into arenas. So hopefully we get it at the end of October or it's looking, because of the broadcaster that they're on, it's looking more likely that it'll be knocked back to November because the UFC have got Khabib and Justin Gaethje on the 24th of October. And that's the date that was scheduled for Joyce Dubois. So I think it's going to get knocked back 2 weeks. But it just has to happen, man. It has to happen this year. Regarding them two going back and forth with each other, people attempting to get them to trash talk and all that type of shit, stop it. There's no need. You don't need them two to trash talk. We know that they're not naturals at doing that type of thing. If anything, you're making things worse. Stay away from it. But as a fight, geez, man, what a wonderful, wonderful fight for both of these guys at this stage of their career to to really make a bit of a stamp on this heavyweight division. And if everything goes to plan from a Frank Warren point of view, then you never know. Daniel Dubois might be fighting someone like Alexander Usyk for the WBO heavyweight championship of the world next year. If AJ and Fury can get made and the WBO are being weapons or whatever it may be, and they don't allow them to do it for Undisputed because they want to do mandatories, and AJ moves on because the fight that we all want to see him involved with is obviously Fury. You never know, man. Boxing's a weird world, isn't it? You never know how things are going to pan out. So hopefully we get Dubois-Joyce first and foremost. Let's get that out of the way, and I'm sure the boys will deliver on the night for us.
Were you surprised that Joyce took it with, his age? Because if Dubois loses, he can, build and come again, where Joe Joyce really, he's going to have to go straight back into a big fight because obviously he's a lot older.
You're right. But again, coming back to parts of conversations that we had months ago, boxing needs to learn from other fight sport organizations. The best need to fight the best. We need evenly matched guys. We've just seen Joe Joyce knock over a geezer that wasn't fit to be in the ring with him. We've just seen Daniel Dubois do the exact same thing, fighting a cruiserweight, for crying out loud. What's all that about? These guys are perfect. Right now, yeah, Joyce is older than him. But if you look at their professional records, even though Joyce has got a much better amateur pedigree, you look at the professional records, they're at the same stage of their career. They've both got ambitions to kick on and challenge at the top level. There's a lot of noise about one, a lot of noise about the other. Match them up. This is it. Why are we frightened of these undefeated records? Joe Joyce, if he gets beat, it's how he gets beat, of which then determines his next fight, how he gets beat. If he gets smashed in one round, which won't, I don't think it'll happen. He gets hit, yeah, he does, but he can take a dig. He's a durable dude, and he can dish out a bit of power as well. Don't forget that this is a guy that's fought Usyk and pushed Usyk around, in the WSB or whatever it was called. This is exactly what should be happening in boxing. These guys at this stage of their career, they should be putting it on the line. They should be risking it. They should be going, right, lads, I want this, and I've got to go through this guy. Too many times do we see these navigation techniques where we're going, I can't fight him yet because that's a bit of a risky one. Let's just take this guy because it gets me more points with the WBO and boosts me to X, Y, and Z and all this, that, and the other. And I'll pay me sanctioning fees so the WBO boosts me up here. Get to France, man. Give me the proper fights. Let's have a proper yardstick. And this is it. This is a great yardstick. And I think kudos to both guys, both teams, for going, I can smash him. Let's go.
What's your opinion, Adam, on all these people coming back? You've got Sergio Martinez has come back. Obviously, Tyson against Roy Jones. Evander Holyfield seems to be coming back to probably face the winner of that fight. And now we've got Oscar De La Hoya coming back.
Fight sports, isn't it? Fight sports is the weirdest place in the world where people, the flame never goes out. And I'm sure it's the same for footballers. The flame never goes out. They watch a game of the weekend and they'll go, I could do a bit today. Wish I could do a bit today. You know what I mean? But they know full well that their body physically cannot keep up with teenage wingers or 25-year-old centre midfielders. Just can't keep up with them because Father Time waits for nobody. But up here, they've still got it. They've still got it here, but physically they can't go out there and do it. You never hear of, Maradona, for example, going, something, I'm off the coke now. I'm in a decent place. I'm signing for Napoli. We're going to go and win the league. What are you talking about, mate? But in the world of boxing, you get these guys that obviously have their troubles and they go out there, they finish their careers and all this type of stuff. And all of a sudden they get themselves straight. They get themselves in good nick. Mike Tyson is in incredible shape for a 53-year-old dude, man. And he's the guy that inspired me to become a boxing fan. 89, fighting Bruno. Jeez, I still remember it vividly now. He was a killer, absolute killer. But are you telling me, and I know this is an anomaly fighting Roy Jones or whatever it is, but are you telling me that he can go and compete with the heavyweights of today, the 6'9" Tyson Fury and all these types of guys, right? Of which many fans on boxing Twitter, which is a different world to normal Twitter. It's a very crazy place, boxing Twitter. But boxing Twitter keep telling me, oh yeah, look at him on them pads with Rafael Cadero. He's looking good, innit? Yeah, he does. Does look good on pads, but pads aren't hitting him back, mate, are they? And he ain't doing it against a 6'9" giant. He's not doing that. Who am I to tell anybody how they should go and earn their living or what have you? I just wish that they would put their profiles and their names in order to benefit. For example, Jones Jr. and Tyson, if they come out and they say, all of this is for this charity, this is what we're doing, I'm like, fair play, lads. Go on then, have a little bit of a tumble. Let's have a little bit of fun. Go and make that shitload of dough and let's go and do some good in the world, right? I'm on board with that. But that's never happened with this. There'll be people out there going, well, Tyson said that he's going to donate his purse. What's his purse? I don't know what his purse is. Because this streaming service are paying shitloads of dough. How much of that's going to Tyson's purse? How much of it is going to... I don't know. I don't know the financial aspect of it. But if they all came out and went, we're doing this for charity, sweet as a nut. The Oscar De La Hoya one's mad. Because Oscar's there at, 47 years of age, and he's going, I want to fight the top guys. They're not like the top guys of my generation. I want to go and fight the top guys. Hang on. What weight are you thinking of fighting at, Oscar? And I've seen anything from 147 through to 160. The top guys aren't like the guys of your generation. So you've got the Charlo lads, right, that can whack a bit. You've got, obviously, his mate Canelo. You've got even Triple G still knocking about there, you know. If you're going down to 147, you've got Crawford. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are we entertaining this nonsense? Why are people giving this airtime? It just doesn't sit right because of the seriousness of the sport for me. You know, you can get hurt. You can get proper hurt. We're not out there playing, are we? You can get proper hurt. And it's all right, these guys talking about it and saying they're going to do it. You would hope that jurisdictions and sanctioning bodies and people who are dishing out licenses don't think with their wallets. They think about health and they go, "No, mate, you can have an exhibition. You can have a charity fight. Yeah, of course you can, against someone your age and someone your ability right at this moment in time in your life. But you're not fighting 20-odd-year-old Errol Spence. You're not doing that. You'll fucking take your head off. What are you doing?"
Because look at the Chuck and Tito. Was it the third one done by Golden Boy? That's what I think is going to happen. You know, we'll see something like that, and you know, instead of remembering, you know, Roy Jones or Mike Tyson in their heyday, we're just looking at this crumpled old person just sat in the corner of the ring.
That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. And anybody that thinks Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., right, are all of a sudden going to roll back the years to the for Jones Jr. mid-90s, for Tyson late 80s. Because let's be honest, he's been past his peak for 30 years. You think they're going to roll it back? Do you remember Tyson's last two fights? Come on. Yeah. All of a sudden, just because he's got in shape and he's whacking pads with Rafael Cadiro, he ain't going to be Tyson of 1989. That's not happening. It's a bit of fun. Raise a few quid, donate it to some charities, go and have a beer. Cheers, lads.
Danny Williams is still fighting.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Right, Adam, I just want to say thank you for stealing you for an hour and a half today.
No worries, man.
If you've got any advice for anybody that wants to follow in your footsteps, you know, then work their way up from, you know, hospital radio, from a Fight Disciples podcast all the way to BT Sports.
Well, Matt, I obviously get quite a lot of messages from people that are watching the content that I'm knocking out, who have aspirations of going into the media and doing very similar things to what I'm doing. What I will say now is this, right? When I started this 20 years ago, the platforms that are available to people right now were not available. You're in a unique position. You've got YouTube, you've got iTunes and all these other podcast places like Spotify. You've got the internet of where you can set up your own website and create your own blog. You can do anything. All the platforms are there for you right now. You don't need to go and work for a mainstream broadcaster straight away. If you're like I was, sending your tapes off or sending whatever it may be and getting no's, don't get disheartened, because life's like that. Life's full of that. Life's full of those bumps in the road. The geezers that get to the top are the ones that hear no several times, but keep persisting until they get that yes. You've got now in the modern world these platforms where you can, as I said moments ago when we were talking about the UFC, when we're talking about Matchroom, where you can create your own content, own your own content, build your own audience. Once you do that, the evidence is there. for the mainstream media to start picking up on people that are living in those spaces to bring them over. If you want to do that, you might get into a situation where sponsors think we're gonna make what you're doing financially viable for it to become your career. I'm sure a lot of your guys over in the States are familiar with the Schmo, yeah?
Yeah.
Come across the Schmo. That dude is one of the nicest guys I've ever met in this game, right? I met him years and years and years and years ago, and he was down on his luck, banging his head against the brick wall, trying and going nowhere, absolutely going nowhere. And then all of a sudden he has the press conference where he stands up, does the Schmo thing in front of Dana White, talks about the 162.5-pound division in the UFC, boom. And then Dana gives him an interview the day after, and away we go, right? Years and years and years and years of trying and perfecting his talent and perfecting his craft and perfecting his act led to that moment of where now he can start to shine in the spotlight. Look at that dude now. Look at what he's done. You're probably only familiar with him over the last 12 to 24 to 36 months of what he's been getting up to. But that lad's been doing that for a long period of time. My story. A lot of people who are covering UFC are probably only familiar with me for the last 12 to 24 months. As I said at the start of this, I've been at this game for 20 years, man. It takes time. There's a lot of work that you've got to do in the darkness before you can shine in that spotlight. Take note of what people like the Schmo have done, for example. Take confidence from that there's been a lot of no's in his life along the way. But when the yes comes, you'll be fucking ready, man. Take that opportunity and run with it. And like I said, just keep persevering, keep going at it, and keep loving it. If you don't love it, if you're doing it trying to get rich, you ain't going anywhere. Do it because you love it. The money will follow you.
It's funny you say that. I sat next to the Schmo at an event one time, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" He was just like dressed up with crazy outfit on and his glasses, and I thought he was foreign. I thought he was just from like Eastern European or something like that. The way he was dressed.
Now, like I said, when he's not in Schmo mode, and you have a normal conversation with him, he's such a lovely guy, very giving with his story and what have you. He's such a top dude, and when you come across guys like that. And then you see him do his thing, and you think to yourself, man, absolutely. You want people like that to be successful, and he's fucking hell, man. He's absolutely killing it. I was watching something yesterday where he's just rocked up at Bisping's house. He just sat in Bisping's kitchen, like having an interview with him. I'm thinking, this is fucking mad. Absolute crazy shit. But built that reputation. People trust him. And now all of a sudden he's absolutely dominating the space that he's in.
And for anybody that listens to this that doesn't know about the Fight Disciples, Adam, if you want to tell them where they can find it.
We're on iTunes. You can get all our podcasts on iTunes. Fight Disciples is what you look for. Our website's fightdisciples.com if you need an Android feed for like Spotify or out like that. And we just started trying to utilize the YouTube platform. We've only just started. We're only got a small subscription on there at the moment. But what we're doing is taking clips from the podcast, the major discussion points, because what I've found is via iTunes, for example, there's no way for fans to interact with that. You can't, write comments of the talking points, really, can you? But on YouTube, if you put the actual clip up, comment section's there. Sometimes that's good. People agree. Sometimes that's bad, and people get stuck in and give us a lot of shit for it. But at the end of the day, this is a community, isn't it? We're trying to build a community of like-minded fight fans that want to talk about fight sports and be interested in fight sports. So we've started utilizing YouTube as well. So Fight Disciples, that's where we are on there, mate.
We're at The Last Round 12 on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks again, Adam.
Mate, I appreciate you inviting me on, and hopefully the next time we chat, it's not over screens. We've got a beer in our hand, and maybe we're on our way to go watch a fight ringside in Vegas or something like that again sometime soon.
I know. I can't. It's crazy how much you miss it. You get used to just, the painstaking drive to Vegas or the flight, and then now we can't go. It's
yeah, man. We'll get there, mate. We'll get there.
I know.
Good time. We'll roll again.
All right. Thanks again, Adam.
You're welcome, mate.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.